Checks in the mail for that
I
plug.
love all of that. And now we're gonna go here, and I'm gonna make you host. So when I leave, this whole party doesn't disappear. Make host. Wonderful. You're the captain now, sir. All right, everybody, have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Perfect.
Bye
Thanks,
bye.
Hi,
Timmy.
Tim. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. How we doing?
Doing fabulous.
Good, good. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Today is session 13 of Ignite, quality potential buyers and sellers. Um, how many of you have taken the 1 through 12 classes?
Kind of scattered, not in order, not all of them.
Okay.
I did
No.
all of them but the last one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
missed you. I was the only one there.
Hey, I was at a house.
I'm with Patrick, kind of scattered. This is Kelsey, by the way. I'm with Patrick, kind of scattered. I've probably done like half or three-quarters of them.
Nice. Perfect. Um, so apologies because I'm not a teacher, probably like the rest of them are. So but anyway, let's get into it. Oh, your last one was strength in relationships. That's a great one if you can go back and retake that. Um, and then your next one is actually going to start you in the transaction process, which is fantastic. So there is the link to the Ignite workbook if none of you have that yet. 2003, they haven't updated it since then. But anyway, there's the link if you guys want to get that link or scan the QR code and get that Ignite workbook for you. Okay, today's agenda. We are going to find the motivated. We are going to classify by able, ready, and willing. It's actually very rare that all three of those um, coincide with each other and the stars align. Um, then we're going to go to qualifying buyers and sellers, finding out, taking them from when you first hear from them, qualifying them. Are they ready to buy? When are they going to be ready to buy? Are they ready to sell? When are they going to be ready to sell? Um, After that, we're going to go through our recap and ahas, and then we're going to review the daily success system. And that, well, I'm sorry, that stupid thing just skip the, okay, so dispel myth understandings. What myths do you hold about finding buyers and sellers? Who would like to go first? Anybody? Nobody?
What was your question? I just logged on. I couldn't get on for a little while. Hi, Joey.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. I'm gonna keep my camera off because
I
um
can't see cameras anyway. I'm not really sure what's happening. So
oh
you
good,
guys,
good. What was your question? Maybe I can answer.
dispelling myth understandings. What myths do you hold about finding buyers and sellers? About finding them?
That uh let's see, they won't want to work with me. Maybe I'm not their right kind of person. They're probably already working with someone. What else? I don't know where to look.
To flip that first one around,
Hmm.
that you said that they may not want to work with you, you also may not want to work with them.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I've been in the business for 6 years. And one of the first things that Allie said to me, I'll never forget, and she was so right. She said, people are always going to show you who they are and believe them. Because the
Yes.
first lead that I ever got, and I was so excited. I was green. I had just gotten my license. I was so excited. And this woman ran me ragged and she wasn't serious. And she ended up not buying something. She fully never really intended on buying anything. She bought like with an agent. She bought something by herself.
Yep.
And and so that was a hard lesson for me. And now I'm at a point where there's a seller that I have who's actually a long time, like a very old someone I've known for a very long time. And I don't want to work with her anymore because she's not being realistic and she's not listening to me. So if you're going to be working with someone who's not going to be listening to your advice and expertise, because we're the ones in the market every day and we're the market experts, not what they're hearing on the news, which is
Yeah,
all,
and not their parents.
yeah, and not their exactly. So that's been a hard thing too, to find. And finally I'm at a point where I can say, I know where to direct my energy and I know where not to, but
Yep.
that's something you learn over time.
Yeah, yeah, and I will say that if any of you that are watching are brand new, it's very easy to for somebody like myself who has been in the business for 20 years, or her that's been in for 6, it's very easy for us to kind of sit around and say, oh, well, I just don't want to work with that person, because we've put in the time and we're in a place where we can do that. So when you're new, I understand that this is commission based only, and you don't get paid if you don't sell anything. And if you don't work with somebody, you don't have an option to get paid. Um, the one thing that I wish somebody would have told me at the beginning of my career, and I didn't learn until very, very far into my career, is qualify, qualify, qualify. Um, Qualify any buyer that is contacting you, qualify any seller that is contacting you. Um, and you're the professional, you're in the driver's seat. People don't go to their doctor and tell their doctor what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. That doesn't work, and it doesn't work in real estate either. We're the professionals. We're supposed to be, if they think that things work a certain way and they actually don't, that's our job to educate them. Um, so qualify and educate. And I have somebody in the chat.
Oh, that was just me saying no,
Refer it out.
like no one to refer it out. You can
Yes.
still get 25%. If you're not really the right fit for them, that's okay.
Yes.
Somebody else maybe. And if
Yep.
if you were just like, this is not working for me, this is an energy vampire, I just can't do it, or they're not listening, they may work better with somebody else and let them have the headache, and you can just sit back and get a 25% referral check. Or
You're
send an
exactly
email.
right. Sometimes you are actually going to make more money on that referral instead of running around like a chicken with your head cut off for somebody for an extended period of time. Um, and if you're not the right fit, if your personalities don't fit together, it's honestly better to refer them out and get something than to work with each other and somebody pisses somebody off and you get nothing. Um, the,
Right,
with the
because it'll crash and burn anyway eventually.
Yes, with the amount of agents that we have in this brokerage, there is somebody whose personality will work well with them. Okay, how buyers find their agent. Um, Obviously, if you're very new, the referral part of it is just not happening for you yet. Um, but referrals from your past clients, from your friends, for people who you've worked with, from vendors like plumbers, electricians, all of that, truthfully, that's that's pretty much my entire business. Um, and it has been. I've ever since I've been in, I'm lucky enough. I live up here in Gilmore Girls land. I literally can't walk into any store or anything without almost everybody in there knowing me, blah, blah, blah. That's just small town America. But if I didn't do a good job, it wouldn't take very long for all those recommendations and referrals to stop coming into me. Um, so build your relationships, maintain your relationships. Don't do that in person. Don't do it just in text messages all the time. Don't do it in Facebook, social media all the time. Um, Build those relationships. Some of the people who I actually didn't work with that worked with another agent on one of my listings, I get more referrals from them sometimes than the people that I actually worked with. Um, just because if people are happy, they're gonna tell people. If they're unhappy, they're gonna tell exponentially more people. Um, so do a good job. Treat people as you want to be treated. Um, Used agent previously for a transaction. Over 20 years, I have tons and tons and tons of repeat business. Um, Inquire about a property that they saw online. That is where your advertising, your promoting yourself, doing all the social media things, doing all the marketing and advertising things. Um, when you're new, that is very, very, very important to get your name out. Um, and as you build up your career, you still should be doing that. I mean, we do that religiously, but it becomes less and less important as all your repeat and referral business comes back through. And then referral from another agent. I will say that's one of the best things about KWCLM. Um, we get a ton of referrals from agents who finally decide that driving 3.5 hours to somewhere where they don't know and can't recommend a home inspector is probably the best idea. And we also give out a ton of referrals. So that's a huge, huge benefit of being within this brokerage. How sellers find their agent. Basically, I mean, the numbers are a little bit different, but same order, you know, um, relationships, referrals. Don't be a secret agent. Don't assume because people know that you're in real estate that they're going to use you, because even here, I will say, I mean, I'm born and raised here, and I have two giant, huge families from here. Um, and it still took me about 5 years to become one of the names that people like automatically thought about when they thought real estate. Um, so even though people know you, don't be surprised if you see them list their house with somebody else because you haven't reached out or told them that you sell real estate, other than the one time when you told them when you first got licensed. Okay, command opportunities. Does anybody in here, I mean, we all have to use opportunities in command to get our commission checks. Does anybody in here strictly use command as their CRM and database and all the things?
I do.
You do. Awesome. My whole team is strictly command base. Not that it hasn't been a struggle. We're 3 years into KW and we're just figuring a lot of this stuff out. And hopefully once we get it all figured out, I'll work something out with Nate to pass it all along to whoever wants to use command and whoever wants it. But command is great. The opportunities are great. If you're not using the phases and the stages and the checklists and all of that in there, you really should be, because it's a no-brainer. And I don't want to be one of those people who says, "Oh, and it's free," because it's not free. We pay for command. It's part of our splits with KWRI, KWCLM. So it's not free, but it's not an extra check we have to write out every month. So putting your stuff into command, very, very important. If you're not using command, use something. I was in the business and sold thousands of properties and I never had a database or created a database or did anything until we joined KWCLM in 2021. And I was in the business since '05. Um, I just didn't realize that was a thing people did and never used it. And now I know how super important it is. So whether it be Command or another CRM, whatever one you're using, put all the people in there and do your DTD2 with Tim every week and keep up with them. From Gary Keller himself, focus becomes increasingly possible in direct proportion to how clear you are about what you want, when you want it, and what you must do to get it. If you don't have a goal in this business, you need to schedule an appointment with Tim immediately, create one, create a plan to follow it, and follow it. From somebody who flew by the seat of his pants for 15 years, 16 probably. Still kind of feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants. But it's much, much easier. I work with Tim every other week. I have a maps coach that I work with every single week. It's incredible how much that will help you get your shit together, really. Get your shit together, create a plan, and follow the plan. If you don't have a plan, you can't follow it. Then you're just winging it every day, and that is no fun. Okay. Able, ready, and willing. This is, as I said when we were going through the timeline of today, it's, well, this visual shows it very, very well. It is very, very rare to get any potential client, buyer, or seller who is all three of those all at the same time. Obviously, people contact us all the time about properties that, oh, I want to see that. I'm interested. Who couldn't finance a pack of gum, which is why qualifying people is very, very, very important. Yes, if we don't show people properties, they can't possibly buy them, but we shouldn't be showing people properties that they can't buy to begin with. You know, a lot of people always say that doesn't cost me money. Yes, it does. That costs you time that you could be lead generating or working with somebody else who is ready, willing, and able. Costs you gas. It takes time away from your business. So just be very, very cognizant about, putting the brakes on. Sometimes it's better to put the brakes on at the beginning than to get halfway into something and realize we've all done it. I've done it. I mean, I've done it. I still do it sometimes. But I'm also very, very, I'm way better now and waste way less time on people that want to buy but can't buy. Want and ability are two different things. Classify your opportunities. That's also very important, which when I first started with KWCLM and people were like talking about this, I'm like, what difference does it make? A seller's a seller, a buyer's a buyer. They're not. Um, if you're putting the same time and energy into somebody who's 6 to 12 months out as you are, who's now, you're doing it totally wrong. So again, qualifying every single lead that comes in, finding out exactly where they are and exactly where they want to be and how long it's going to take to get there is going to save you and them so much time, energy, frustration, trips to your therapist. It's really, really important. So an A buyer, and you can use, I mean, everybody uses something different. A, B, C buyers, one, two, three buyers, um, hot, medium, cold buyers or sellers or all of that. So the number one ones are the people who are ready, willing, and able to go right now. Those are the people who you want to invest the majority of your time in, because they're ready right now. Your B buyers and sellers, those are people who you need to cultivate because they're going to be ready within the next 60 days. 60 days, 180 days, however you want to qualify that. Just put the dates in and stick to those. Are they always going to stay in that category? No. Some people who are ready and willing and able right now, shit happens. Stuff happens that something could happen that could push them over to a B buyer. Something could happen that could push them into a C buyer. But you should have a plan to handle each section of those customers accordingly. And they're very different. Um, just make sure that you have your smart plans together, work with your productivity coach, Tim, work with your broker, work with your team leader, hire a MAPS coach if you're at that point. It's very, very important to get very clear on these things so you're using your time to the best capacity and you're not overusing your time on people that aren't ready and that aren't there. Why qualify? Win-win. I mean, that they can't say it any better than that. If you're not qualifying, you're literally wasting your time and everybody else's time. Document everything, whatever CRM you're using, whether it be Command or something else, input everything into those because I can't tell you how much that it's a real game changer when you can open up your contact in your CRM and see everything that you've done with them, every conversation you've had with them, emails, text messages. If you're using Command, you can do that all right from your phone on the Command app. Very, very easy. You can actually talk to text. You don't have to type all that out if you don't want to. And you should do that immediately after you get off the phone. When I send somebody a text, I copy and paste that text and I put it right into the timeline in Command as an activity. So you can just pull them up. Follow a checklist. Well, I'm going to be honest, not mine so much anymore because I have Angela and Christy and all of that. But following a checklist is super, super huge. Even when I was the most giant shit show, walking the face of the planet, I had checklists. And yes, I carried them around in a manila folder with me everywhere I went all the time because if I didn't have those, I would literally forget everything. So one of the things I wish that I had done way, way, way earlier in my career is actually like log every single thing that I did, whether it be, when a new buyer lead comes in, when a new seller lead comes in, doing a CMA for somebody. Under contract, I had that part down pat. But it's very, very important, especially with the contracts, because there's deadlines on those things. And if our clients miss deadlines, that's on us. And I have personally written checks for deposits to give that money back to my buyers because I forgot to update them on the deadline, inspection deadline, on this deadline, on that deadline. It lapsed and they ended up being in a position where they were going to lose their deposit and it was my fault. Um, so save yourself a lot of time, money, and energy. Get those checklists created. If anybody wants our checklists that we use, you can shoot me an email. My email is joey at a notch above group. Or you can text me 603-833-9922. Give me your information and I will shoot you over. I'll shoot you over our checklists. We now have all of our checklists in command, but we also still have them all on paper. Every time we update anything, the paper gets updated as well. So just so we have those, and always abide by fair housing regulations. Ba Basically, don't discriminate against anybody. I know the list of actual protected classes is 75 miles long. The rule of thumb that I've always used and I've trained my staff and agents to use, nobody gets discriminated against for any reason. Um, if you wouldn't want it done to you, don't do it to them. And if you have it does happen sometimes on the buying end, because some buyers are like, well, I want to be with so far within my church or within blah, blah, blah. Um, it's not really discrimination, but like you can pay attention to that stuff. If a seller comes and says that if they don't want you to sell to this kind of person or this type of person or color of person, fire them immediately is what I would do. I've only ever had that happen once. Um, so it's not a super common thing. But again, I live in, Gilmore Girls land up here. Everybody knows everybody. So that's not a huge thing for us. But don't be doing that and be very, very cognizant about what you're putting in your write-ups for your listings. Saying the word family is not okay anymore. Saying the word master bedroom, not okay anymore. If you have any questions on any of that, send the brokers what you have written up and have them review it and approve it. Okay, qualified buyers, buyer lead sheets. If you don't have one of these, you should have one of these. And if you have one of these, you should have this memorized because the reality is you're not going to have these sheets with you literally at all times. I mean, you can make every effort to, but I promise you there's situations that you're going to walk in and totally not be prepared at all to be talking real estate. And guess what? You're going to end up talking real estate. And if you know these forms, inside and out and upside down, forwards, backwards, you're gonna get most, if not all, of the information you're supposed to get. These forms obviously should have their contact information. This form is actually really, really great. So copy this form, use this form. I'm sure it's in the workbook. Take a picture of this screen, just to be safe, if not. And then all of your buyer qualification, pre-qualification questions. This is really, really, really super helpful and is going to put you and them in the best situation for you to help them. The answers to these questions are going to be huge. Then the one thing I also want to point out is don't just fill these out and then put them in a pile on your desk. All of this information, once you have these forms filled out, should be input right into your database. So it's all there.
And you
Yeah,
can
and
also, if
then
I can make a suggestion too, like what I do, like if I'm sitting in front of my computer, I'll log the call like right, in the database. We don't use command, we use command for, all the stuff, but
permissions. Yeah.
we use Brevity.
Yeah.
But you can also, like anything I have, like if I go to a listing appointment or any foreign docs like this, and I'm just taking notes on my notebook, I'll like go to the copy machine and scan that in and get it from my email and drop it into Dotloop or something. Or
Yep.
you can add docs into your CRM too, so that you have it somewhere so that you're not going to lose that piece of paper, because I have like piles of paper all around me. I don't know what the I was gonna use a bad swear word, but I don't know what the fuck is on my desk. Like as every once in a while I have to like go through and I'm like, what is this? Make a folder for it. But if you put something into Dotloop or your CRM or something, or
It's
even like
there.
put a file on your computer that says
Yes.
like buyer lead sheets, listing appointment sheets, just keep
Yep.
it, because there have been times when, like just now, I was like, while you were talking, I'm actually like I'm writing out cards, like care cards to send to past clients, and I couldn't for the life of me think of my clients. I sold her a house 5 years ago. I couldn't think of her son's name to save my life. And I kept looking through all my notes and I'm like, why? Because I knew it was a very odd name. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why didn't I write it down? So if you have these things, it's super helpful, because I keep sending cards and I wanted to be like, how are you and Claus doing? Not like, how are you and your kid that I don't know his name doing?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
be like me.
Yeah. I mean, that's all super important, and you don't realize it until you're in that situation. You're like, oh shit, like what is that kid's name?
Yeah, like these
I mean,
systems are here and they're in place because they work and they're here to help you. So use the tools that are
yes.
given to you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, I promise if you follow everything that everybody in these Ignite classes has been telling you, it's it's going to be nearly impossible to fail and not be successful. Um, I mean, this stuff is literally created by the best in the business. And it's not very hard. It's just hard to keep it all together. Um, so yeah, oh God, I have transactions from, oh my God, the before 2010. I have all those files on my computer still. All of everything that I ever did with anybody, whether it just be a brokerage relationship disclosure, anything at all. If I wrote down all my notes, I would take a picture of those and put it in that file or scan them, whatever. I have all the stuff. I just didn't have it all really in one place and organized. But yeah, Carol's absolutely right. Put that stuff in a cloud somewhere. My team uses we use Google Drive. We have Google Drive files for literally every client, every transaction, everything. Um, it's in the cloud. Um, so these forums super helpful, and they go into talking about how are you paying? Have you spoken with a lender? Are you pre-approved? Have you talked about what your down payment's going to be? All of that is crazy important, because most of the buyers who you get on the very first contact have done none of that. They just assume that they can afford something because of whatever. Um, Till they get a pre-approval letter, I don't get off the couch, to be honest with you. Um, Because if they can't, if a lender hasn't told them that they're qualified to buy, they're not qualified to buy. They're a dreamer. They're not a buyer. Role play. Oh God. Um, I wasn't told that. I didn't know we had to do a role play.
We can do
Um,
it. Come on, let's go. Let's do it. We have to.
come on, let's go.
Come on, let's
Okay.
do it, because this is the one thing that we should all be doing, that it's, you get, you know, Jamie Hassenfuss, we never want to say busy. But you know, we need to do it.
Yeah, oh yeah. I
And we
mean,
don't do it. So let's do it.
practicing this stuff,
Yep.
practicing this stuff is super, super important. And the more you practice it, you're the more you do this, and a lot of people like myself, I never role played with anybody, but I mean, I've been on thousands and thousands of appointments, and I've had thousands and thousands, maybe millions of conversations. And the more you do it, the easier it is for you. You like it's just second nature. You don't even have to think about it. I mean, think about tying your shoes. When you go over and put your shoes on and tie them, you don't even think about that anymore.
Right. And then
It-
the biggest reason that any of us will give for not wanting to pick up, like Tim says, the 7,000-pound phone at the end of your arm is because I don't want to call people, like I don't know what to say. Well, this is
right.
how you know what to say, because you say it over and over and over again until it's just what you say,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, do you wanna role play with me, Carol?
Sure. If not,
Okay.
if someone else wants to, raise your little hands, raise your little paws.
Has it
No paws.
has anybody in there taken a buyer call? No?
Is
It's
anybody
all
here?
been people I know very well, so I guess it
Okay.
wouldn't be like having a buyer call with somebody um, that you've never met before or that you don't know all that well.
Yeah, the stranger danger. That's where it's hard. Like it's easier if, you know, like I'm calling Joey and he's my friend and because we, yeah, that's easier. That just kind of flows better, but it is different. So yeah.
Okay. So I'll do one with you, Carol. Um, and I'm gonna be the buyer and you're the realtor. And I'm
Okay.
calling okay, okay, so I'm not
Okay, so I had surgery on Friday, full disclaimer, so I'm turning my camera on, but I didn't want to do this because
oh, you don't have to turn your camera on.
okay, I didn't know if you could see me. Can you see me?
I can't see anybody. The
Okay,
only
I'm
thing
turning
I
it
can
off
see
then.
is the the only thing I can see is the slideshow. I can't see.
Okay, good. Okay. So you're
Yeah.
gonna be who and I'm gonna be who?
I'm gonna be the buyer and you're the listing agent.
I'm the listing agent and you're the buyer?
Yep.
I'm not the buyer's agent?
Oh wait, no, yeah, don't be the listing agent. You just be a buyer. You just
Okay, well,
be
I guess like what are we role playing? Is this for buyers?
I'm gonna do a brand new call into
Okay.
you, and
Okay, got it.
you're gonna field the brand new buyer call.
Okay, got it.
Okay?
Yep, got it.
All right. Ring ring.
Hi, this is Carol.
Hi, Carol. I saw a house over on Main Street in Stratford, and I was wondering if I could get in to take a look at that with you.
Oh, great. Sure. Okay, so what I'm gonna do while I'm pulling that up, do you mind if I just ask you a few questions?
No, sure.
Okay, great. The first thing I wanted to ask you, are you currently working with an agent at all?
Yeah, I worked with a lady to look at a house over on Maple Street, and then this other guy I had called, and he showed me a house over on Smith Street. So yeah, I'm working with with other agents.
With other agents. Okay, is that like we're talking currently or like in the past?
Um, I'd say all within the last 2 weeks, I looked at
Oh,
those two
okay.
properties with them.
Okay, let me ask you one quick question. Have you signed a buyer's agency agreement with any of them?
I signed something with them, but I'm not, to be honest with you, I don't really know. Um,
Okay, yeah, that would be
it-
really important to know. And you should know what that is. Maybe look through your email, because if you're signed with another agent, then respectfully, I would direct you back to them so that they can help you because you have that relationship with them. If, if however you're not, then I'd love to help you. I'd love to work with you.
Yeah,
So,
well, they were both the listing agents on those properties. And
oh,
the property that I want to see, I noticed you weren't the listing agent on, so I wanted to work with you on that.
okay. Well, let me ask you a question. What was it that made you call the listing agent? And are you aware, a lot of people, it's funny, a lot of people aren't aware, so maybe I'll go into a little um info with you. So a lot of times people don't realize that that listing agent, the person's name who's on the sign, they represent the seller. So they have a signed listing agreement and a contract with that seller to work in their best interest. And what a buyer should have is you need someone working in your best interest, negotiating for you, getting all that information, doing the legwork and working, really looking out for you. And the easiest way that I always, this is what I fall back on to explain it to people. If you're getting divorced, let's hope you never do. If you're getting divorced and your partner has their lawyer, you're going to want your own lawyer. You're not going to use your partner's lawyer because you want very different things most of the time, right? So you want someone representing you in your best interest. So I would be here and I'm happy to help you as a buyer's agent as long as you are not signed with any one of the other agents. Also, if those two people were listing agents and you had signed with them, then that would be what's considered a dual agent, which means then they're not really representing you. They have to be in neutral Switzerland in that transaction, which this may be diving a little bit too deep into that. But there's really no one representing you at that point. They're just kind of transactionally doing the paperwork. They can't advise you. If you say, well, what do you think I should offer for this? They can't tell you. If they know the seller's motivation, they can't tell you. Whereas if I was your buyer's agent and I get some information from the listing agent from having conversations and the relationships I built with other agents over the years, I can kind of get a little bit of information and tell you that and have our little confidentiality so that you're having someone represent you. So if you're not signed with another agent, I'd love to work with you. So
Yeah,
you can
I
figure
don't
that
think
all
that I
out.
signed a contract with them.
Could it have been a
Both of them were
brokerage
very clear
relationship
that they
disclosure?
represent the seller.
Okay, maybe it was just a brokerage relationship disclosure form that maybe you were presented. Has
Yeah, it was
anyone?
like there was one page and there was a bunch of stuff on the back.
Okay, yeah. It's important to read all that stuff because you never know what you're signing. Okay, so you can after we hang up, you can or while we're talking, you can look through your email and see if you have that. The
Okay.
next thing I wanted to ask you is for a purchase, a couple of things. Would you be paying cash or would you be financing? Combination of both?
I'd be financing.
Have you spoken to a lender and gotten a pre-approval done yet?
I have not.
Okay, so that's really important. I can send you over after we hang up. I will send over our top 3 or 4 or 5 local lenders. It's very important to work with a local lender to get you set up. It doesn't cost you anything. They're wonderful to work with. These are the best of the best. And the the most important benefit of working with a local lender is that they're not like getting, say, like Rocket Mortgage online, who they close at 5 and they don't open till 9. And we all know we're going to be writing offers on the weekend when we go to those open houses. So I have relationships with these lenders so that I can call them at 7 o'clock on a Saturday and say, guess what? I need a new pre-approval letter to match this property right now. And they're going to do it and they're going to be responsive to you. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah. So do I have to call all 4 or 5 of them, or can I just
You
speak
can
to
call
one?
anyone you want. I'm going to send all of them over and you call whoever you want and whoever you feel most comfortable with, you choose who you want to work with. The other thing that I want to let you know right off the top is that there have been, I'm not sure if you're aware of the NAR, National Association of Realtors settlement that had happened last summer. There was a lawsuit, there was a settlement. What that means for consumers for a buyer standpoint is that the most important thing is that we cannot just take you to a house to show a house anymore. We have to have a buyer's agency agreement and we have to have our buyer's docs for the specific state that we're looking in taken care of and create that agency relationship between you and I right up front before we go and see the house. And the reason for that basically is for consumer protection for you, so that, like we talked about in that divorce situation, everyone's represented and you've got your own representation. So if that's agreeable to you, and we make sure that we triple check that you're not signed with anybody else, I'll get those docs ready and over to you today. Please read them and then sign them. If you have any questions, always call me. My phone number's on there.
Okay, but the
and
seller still pays you, right?
well, so that's the other part of it. So the seller has always had the option and the choice to pay a buyer's agent, cooperating buyer's agent compensation or not, and how much that would be. It's not public facing knowledge anymore in the MLS. They've taken that out. That was part of the settlement. So what will happen is when you call me and you say, I want to see 123 Main Street, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call that agent, get any information I can. I'm also going to say, is your seller offering a buyer's agent compensation? And if so, how much? Because our agreement will be for X apples. And if the seller is offering less than that, then you and I have to have a conversation about, that possible difference there. There may be a situation, it's pretty rare, however, we have to have the conversation that it could happen. We could find out that the one you're in love with on 123 Main Street, that seller has decided for whatever reason they're not offering compensation, then that would fall to you to be paying my compensation.
Okay, so I would know that before
You're gonna know that
I
right
even
up
look at
front,
the
because
property.
I'm not gonna schedule a showing even. The first thing we're gonna do is if you tell me you like something, I'm gonna call the agent immediately and ask so that you're aware, because I'm never going to have you look at something and all of a sudden have this surprise come up later on. And when we look at something, we're always going to I'll usually reach out to your lender. If it's something you really like, I'll reach out to the lender and say, can you run some numbers for Joey for 123 Main Street, so that you know right up top, right up front, what your um funds that are going to be needed, what the amount of money you're going to need to bring to the closing is, and if there's going to be any compensation that's going to be needed to be paid to me on top of that. So you need to be aware of that, because you need to make sure that you have enough money to bring to the table. We want to make sure that you're set up for success all the time.
Okay,
I know
good.
this is a lot of information to throw at you, at our first conversation, but this is how we set you up for success. So,
Okay. When can we take a look at that, do you think?
well, I'm going to reach out to the agent. I'm going to get your buyer docs taken care of. So if we can get the buyer docs done today, if you agree that we can work together, I'd love to work with you and help to hand you some keys. I'd love that. So I'll get on that right away. I'm also going to download all the docs for the home. And email those to you right away so that you can get a look at it first. I mean, you may see something in there. It may need a new roof and a heating system, and that may be more than you want to be taking on. So let me send you all that first. I'm going
Okay,
to reach out to the agent right now and see when we can get in there, see what they're paying for compensation, and make sure that all works for you first. And
okay.
then we will schedule the showing. Also, what is your timeline looking like ideally? When would you want to be bringing a box into the house?
I would, I'm gonna say I probably would, I mean, I don't want to move in the winter. I think that's crazy. But I would like to be in there by July 1st.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we have a little bit of time. So the other thing too I wanted to ask you is, are you renting right now or do you have something to sell?
I rent.
Okay, okay, good. So that's going to be a cleaner offer. Um, Sometimes it can be, the market's kind of funny. It depends on what you're looking at. Something can be in very high demand and there can be a lot of offers coming in. So if someone has something to sell, sometimes a seller can look at that as not as strong of an offer because there's a little bit more risk involved. Right. However,
Yeah.
where you're renting, that's good. It's going to be a cleaner offer.
Yeah.
We also want to make sure, I want to make sure that you get in touch with the lender today, just so that you know how much house you can buy. Right. I
Okay.
mean, I don't want you to go and fall in love with something and then find out that it's $100,000 over the amount of money that we brought to the mall. right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I'll give one or maybe two of them a call right after I hang up with you.
Okay, great. And it's really easy. They have all their online applications, so it's very easy to do that. So do you have, are there any other questions? Who's going to be, the other thing is who's going to be moving with you? Is anyone, any furry or humans going to be moving with you?
Yeah, just my dog, myself and my dog.
Oh, I love that. What kind of dog do you have?
She's a golden doodle.
Oh, cuteness. Love it. How much room do you want for her? What is your what kind of lawnmower do you want to get? Let's look at it that way. Do you want to get a push mower with no motor, one with a motor, a riding mower, or hire someone?
I want one that has somebody else running it.
Okay. So you want a big enough yard for this golden doodle to stretch his or her legs?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be huge, but yeah, and I mean, I prefer something fenced in. If it's not fenced in, I could install a fence.
Okay.
Um, if I would be able to on the property, would you be able to know that?
Yeah, I will, I'll check in. Sometimes if it's something that's in a development, sometimes they have parameters around that, but I'll be able to check that. If there are any docs provided in the MLS that I can kind of look through and read through. And if they're not, I will call the listing agent and they will be able to get that information from the seller.
Okay, perfect.
Hmm. What other things are the most important to you? Or what, or sometimes it's easier for me to ask, what things do you absolutely not want?
What do I
You
absolutely not
throw in,
want?
yeah, what would you throw an
I don't
egg at
want
me
shared
for?
walls with anybody.
Okay,
Um,
so no condos. Condos are out.
no condos. I mean, I guess it would be okay if they were standalone condos, but I don't want to share any walls with anybody. I don't want, I don't want to be able to reach my hand out the window and have my neighbor who's reaching their hand out the window and we touch
Pass
each
you a
other.
cup of sugar.
Yeah, yeah, so a little space, doesn't have to be a lot. We don't spend a lot of time outside. Um, just
Okay,
and something that really doesn't need a lot of maintenance. I'm not super handy, uh,
okay.
so I'd rather not. I mean, a fixer-upper is not gonna work for me.
Okay, but something that, if it was something like painting, that you could handle that. If it was
Yeah,
just changing an interior color, like from an orange wall to a cream wall, that would be okay.
yes, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, painting. I'm gonna paint anyway. I don't want to have to redo flooring. I don't want to have to redo walls. I don't want to have to go through and buy all new appliances. So something that has preferably updated appliances. Um, I don't I don't want the laundry I don't want the laundry in the basement. I want the laundry
okay,
on the same level as my bedroom.
okay, great. Also, what do you have a specific area? I mean, I know you said we're gonna get you all dialed up for seeing this house tomorrow. However, if this wasn't the one, what is the ideal area that we're playing in?
Um,
Or how big is the net I'm casting?
I would say within a mile or two of that home, anything within a mile or two of that home that I called you about that's all in the desired area that I would like to be.
Okay, what's important about that area to you?
It's very convenient to my work. It's very convenient to a lot of the things that I do in the area, and
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
yeah. I don't want to be in the middle of nowhere.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, we want to get to Trader Joe's quickly.
Yes, yeah,
Okay. Agree. I
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Great. All right. Well, I am going to I'm going to get working here. I have a lot of work to do. I've just emailed you over all of the docs for the home. I've also just sent you a separate email with all of the lenders for you, so look for that. I'm going to start working on our buyer docs, which are going to include, because we're in New Hampshire, you're going to receive a wire fraud alert paper, which is a sheet, which is basically just going to say that if you ever get an email from me saying, please wire me this money for this, it's not from me. Okay, we're never going to ask you for money. The only people who would ever ask you for money if you were, because you are a little bit farther away from me, for an earnest money deposit check, we might do a wire for that. So we would send you a link, a secure link. You would know, you can do wires between the title company and your lender, but we will never be asking you for that. Because
Okay.
we're in New Hampshire, you're also going to get an audio video disclosure form, which basically says when we go into a house, just be aware that everyone has, not everyone, but most people now have some kind of, I have one, the dinging you keep hearing is every time my dog moves, my stupid little camera is telling me my dog's moving. So everyone has cameras nowadays in their house. So just be careful of what you say when we go into a showing or an open house, because the seller could be listening from their car down the street or their office. There's
Okay.
also going to be a brokerage relationship disclosure form, which is going to explain that right now you and I you're my customer. You're not a client, so there are certain things that I will always give you, like honesty and there's I'm drawing a blank. I'm drawing a blank because I'm on my pain medication. But I wouldn't really say that.
You're
Um,
right.
but when we create that relationship with the exclusive buyer agency agreement, which you will also get, that creates the agency between us. So I have honesty, disclosure, loyalty, accounting for all of the money, my fiduciary duties, all of that. So I will be your agent. I am your person. Um, you will get the exclusive buyer agency agreement. That's just me moving my arms. Now it's beeping at me. Um, the exclusive buyer agency agreement will have myself on there. It will have so don't get alarmed when you see other names. You're going to see my team lead on there, the owner of my team, Allie Goodwin. She's going to be on there in the event I get hit by a meteor and we're under contract with something. Your transaction is not going to stop dead and you're not going to not buy a house because I got hit by a meteor. Allie is going to be able to have the legal authority and the confidentiality, because she's on that contract, to swoop in, get into everything, and take you to the closing table. You're also going to see Lisa Bolthiel on there, who's my transaction coordinator, who you will work very closely with once we go under contract. She is the keeper of all dates and paperwork and keeps all the trains on the tracks to closing. So she legally needs to be on there as well so that she can see everything. You're going to see the compensation on there, saying that my compensation fee is 3%, but I will not accept less than 2. So if something was, like we talked about this earlier, if there was a little bit of a discrepancy in there, if something was, say, under 2, and the seller was only offering 1, then you and I would have a conversation about where that other 1% was coming from.
Okay.
So you're going to get the exclusive buyer agency agreement, and you're also going to get the Keller Williams general disclosure, which basically goes over things like, it kind of outlines what is out of the scope of my license. So if you called me and you said, I want to know if there are any sexual offenders in the area, I would say, call the police department. That's out of just call the police department, go right to the source. If
Okay.
you said, are there any Superfund sites, or is there any, which is an old, what is it? An old like dump, right?
Mhm.
I don't, I will have you, call the town. How are the school systems here? What are the best, what are the best, all of those things. So there are certain criteria that I can't help you with, that's out of the scope of my license, but I will direct you to the people who can help you. So it just kind of outlines a few different things. You're going to get a lead paint information form and disclosure, arsenic and wood, arsenic and water, just things like that. So those are all the forms you're going to get. If you have any questions, like I said, please read everything through before you sign them. Do not just sign them and not know what you're signing. We never want that. We want you to understand them and read them and agree to them when you sign them. And I can always get you copies of these immediately after. They stay in our system in dot loop, and they're securely kept forever, so we can always get you copies of them.
Okay.
Does that
Awesome.
sound good? Do you have any other questions for me now that I've talked your ear off for 2 hours?
Not right now. No. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
You're welcome. I look forward to working with you, Joey.
Same.
Bye.
There. She's rock star.
Stop
You're
it.
You're a rock star. That's exactly how that is supposed to go.
I'm
Um,
like him. I'm a Tacosaurus Rex, though.
yeah, yeah. Well, I can be a Tacosaurus Rex, or I can, depending on, I can be like straight to the point. But you weren't like talking just for the sake of talking. You were talking because you were explaining things. Um, and to the other people in the class, it you can also schedule a follow-up phone call with them to go over all of that paperwork. Um, Allie's, I'm not Allie. You said Allie. Carol's like me. She kind of gave me the Cliff's Notes version of it, and that's the same thing that I do.
You can
Uh,
also Zoom with them. There's been different times where
yes.
if it's someone who kind of lives a little farther away, or I feel like they're like really brandy new and like I really need to like younger, like sometimes it depends
Yep.
on who it is. Like sometimes, and if they want to, and I always give people that's what I didn't mention, I neglected to. Sometimes I'll say to people, would it be helpful for you or would you like me to Zoom with you and share my screen so that you can see them first and we can go
Yep.
through them that way if you have any questions. I mean, that can make it a much longer appointment. However, if the client's going to feel more comfortable and understand it more, because they should, it's a big deal.
Yep.
So if it means spending more time, then spend the time.
Yes. Yeah. And always also give the option of them coming into the office and doing it with me in the office. So all the things you can, do what she just did with me. You can schedule a second follow-up call after you've sent the documents to go over them and explain them fully. Or you can give them the option, the Zoom or meeting in person. I mean, however it is that it works best for them and for you. Um, but no, that was excellent. Um, so that's honestly generally how most first buyer calls or first seller calls happen. That's almost exactly how it is in real life. Um, because again, you don't know these people. Probably the one thing that happens that didn't happen in that role play is collecting all their information.
Oh
Name.
yeah, I didn't ask
Or,
you like where you live and all of that. Sorry, that
yeah.
was my bad. Yeah. And your
No, that's totally
birthday.
fine. Yeah, name, phone number, address,
Yeah.
email address.
See, 6 years, I mean, if I was sitting in front of, I think it would have jogged my memory more if I
You
had
had your
like,
sheet in front of you.
well, yeah, because I would have I would, as I was talking to you, I'd be creating you in the system where you'd already be there. So I'd be adding all that in. So,
Exactly.
however, 6 years in, you can mess up. See?
Yeah, well, 20 years in, you can mess up.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. I mean, I can't. If I had $1 for every time Angela came after me for stuff that I forgot to get. Um, but that's the whole point of the checklists is that even if you're not the one running the checklists, somebody else is. If you don't have the checklist and nobody's running the checklists, you don't, there's no follow-up and there's no accountability and there's no way to make sure you're getting everything that you are need or eventually going to need. Okay. Any ahas from anybody?
I'm so new that everything that I just heard was an aha.
Well, everything you just heard was like, oh God. No, it's a lot. And I'm sure that Carol would say this. I mean, it's a lot, and I get it. I mean, every agent in my office, brand new. I trained them literally from day one, from the ground up. Um, I was new myself. It's a lot when you come into this. There's so much, and on top of it, you're learning everything all at once. But again, that's why getting a role-playing partner is so, so, so important. Um, because even if you're not practicing with actual clients and customers and cold calls and all of that, the more you practice this stuff and the more you role play it, when you're actually in it, it's all just going to be second nature and it's all going to be so much less scary. And you're just gonna know where you're going. Um, you know, like I said, when you learn those buyer intake and seller intake forms inside out, upside down, it's just like the contracts. I'm on the committee at the state that creates all of our state contracts. I mean, I work with them so much that that stuff is all I can explain the contracts laying down half asleep with my eyes closed. But I understand when you're trying to learn all of that on top of all the other, it's a lot. So the more you practice it, and you should be practicing those contracts, even if it's in a mirror, even if it's with a friend. If oftentimes it's actually best with a friend because they don't know any of it either. You know what I mean? So like it's it's less intimidating, I would say.
Yeah, and
You know,
if you can't,
practice
it's
that
really
stuff with a
important.
friend. Yeah.
Yeah, because like, and they're changing. And the thing is, like, if
Yep.
you're new, then it's different because it's the first time you're seeing it. However, the forms change and they change all the time. So,
Yes.
um, you need to know them inside out and backwards because there's nothing. And I remember there have been times in the past where I was going over something with someone and, when I'm sitting, I used to, before COVID, like we would meet in the office with people all the time and I'd have the form, across the table to them, facing them. And I have to know what that form says because there were times when I hadn't really taken the time to study the doc, whatever it was, and I didn't really know. And I'd have to, there's nothing worse than having to turn it around and pull it back and have them sit there in this 3 seconds of awkward silence or 3 minutes while you're reading something so that you can explain it. Because if
Mhm.
you can't, if you don't understand it, how are they supposed to understand it?
Right. Yeah, and I mean that's the one thing that I've told my agents as well is you need to know that document upside down because in our market, I mean we do have a lot of times where we're sitting face to face with the people doing this stuff. You know, so you are. It's facing them, it's upside down to you. You need to know that upside down. And the literally the only way you're going to do that is by practicing it, whether you're practicing it to your dog, your cat, pretend somebody's sitting in the chair, across the table from you. Keep going over that stuff. And, for anybody that's new, you have no idea how lucky you are to be at KWCLM. I I had none of this stuff until 3 years ago, 17 years in the business. I I only knew the contracts because I joined legal committee so that I could like learn stuff from that end. I didn't have a broker ever in my career sit me down and explain this stuff to me. None of it. Literally zero of it. Um, so the fact that you guys have contracts class, put that in your schedule. Don't miss that. I mean, that is so, so, so valuable to you because these contracts are our business. They literally are our business. They're our life. And if you're not getting the contracts right, you're not getting, I mean, you really, really, really need to take advantage of what you have in front of you. Um, I would never miss contracts class if I had that when I was a new agent. That's so, so important.
Yeah, I
Um,
literally, I literally just texted two of my teammates and I was like, hey, I'm in Ignite with Joey Sweatt. If anything important comes up in Maine, because Maine's from 10 to 11 and then 11 to 12 is New Hampshire. I was like, if anything important, I'll jump in there. But otherwise I'm going to stay in here. And she's like, no, they're just going, I mean, everything's important.
Right.
But she was
Yes.
like, there's not, you're okay for now. So, but
Yeah. And
I'll go to contracts every week, and you learn something new every single week because things are changing all the time.
yeah, I was gonna say a lot of like a lot of the stuff that I'll say, I'm gonna be honest, I don't do contracts class. I create them in New Hampshire. I know them. I'm an exception to the rule. But like my agents, there's a lot of times that they say like, "Oh my God, like I never really kind of understood that." And then somebody asked a question about it in contracts, and like the explanation of that question made it make sense. Um,
Yeah, and
so
people are going to ask things that, a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to ask a question. I'm new. It's going to sound stupid. Like, first of all, there's no stupid question. Ask away, because when
exactly.
other people ask questions, somebody else may be like, oh my God, like that. And you may hear something in contracts. This happens all the time. You'll hear something in contracts and you're like, yeah, whatever. You're kind of passively hearing it. And then an hour later or a day later, you have a new situation where you're in that situation and you're like, oh my God, we just talked about this in contracts. Now I know. Thank God.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know where all of you are, or if you're on teams, or if you're solo, or any of that, but the beauty of all of this stuff being on Zoom at KWCLM, and believe me, like I'm not getting paid for making these plugs. I wish I was, but I would do it. I just do it because I believe in it so much. The beauty of all this stuff being on Zoom is that, yeah, you might not be sitting in an office every day, all day with these people, but in the Zooms, like you're getting all so many different perspectives of stuff that you wouldn't know, or you would never even have heard if you didn't engage, and um you didn't just dial in and do all of this stuff. Um, you're so lucky. Um, I mean, coming from I had nothing until I had nothing like this until I joined KWCLM, and I was just like I was stunned at like everything there was. So you're very, very lucky. If you don't have a role-playing partner, contact Tim, ask him to connect you with one. If you're not working with Tim on a regular basis as your productivity coach, contact him, get on his schedule. Um, it's so important, especially if you're new. He's going to literally tell you what you should be doing. Here's the game plan. Now let's execute it and get you some checks coming in. Um, and sometimes it's going to feel like it all take you like you're doing all this stuff and nothing's working. It's all working. You just have to just trust the process. Sometimes it takes a little longer than others. Just trust the process, because if you keep doing what your coach tells you to do, it's going to work. I promise. Um, any other ahas from anybody else?
I definitely need to make sure I have my sheets in front of me. There's a lot to go over in that buyer call. A lot
Yeah,
I'll forget.
yeah. I have that stuff in front of you. You know, the agents have all that stuff in folders on their front seat of their car right beside them. Um, Carol made a good point. If she has the ability to, she's just right in her CRM while she's on the phone with you, typing all this stuff in. But at a
And you can
minimum,
have it real quick, Joey, and you can have, I don't remember if Command does it. I don't remember if they have the mobile capability still.
yep, yeah, they do.
Yeah, like I said, we use Brivity, but it doesn't matter. Whatever CRM you're using, if they have a mobile app, like I can log a call right on my phone. So I don't need,
Mhm.
if I'm in the car and I pull over and, or if I'm at Market Basket, which I'm always at Market Basket, you can put your notes of that conversation right in there,
Yep.
and it's really important. And the
Yeah.
other thing too is, asking them all those questions, like if, when I asked you if you had something to sell, you need to know right up front, like, could you be getting a listing out of this too? You
Hmm.
know?
Yeah. Yeah, because if I would have said, yeah, I have something to sell, Carol's next question would have been, do you have an agent? Is it on the market? And if I would have said no, that
I would have
there's a
said, what time
perfect
can I come over
referral
today?
opportunity for
Yeah.
her.
Or
Yeah.
can I come over at 2 or 4 today? What works for me to come over and see your beautiful house?
Right. Yeah. If it's within her service area, absolutely. Yeah. Can I come over? If it's not in her service area, great. I have connections with tons of agents all over the state. Would you like my help in connecting you with one? Who I've never had anybody say no to that. And then boom, there's your 25% referral fee when that sells. And plus, you're going to get them on the buying side, so it's all the chain of events. I mean, sometimes that stuff can all lead to multiple, multiple, multiple commission checks for you. Um,
Yeah, I mean, there's one that I was doing where I was helping them buy because of the area they were buying in. However, the area they were selling their house in was, you know, there's a difference between like some agents would just be greedy and be like, oh, I want the whole thing. I don't live in New London. I have no idea
mm-mm.
what that market's like. I think it was in New London. I forget where it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I referred that out to Noah Goodrich and we just tag teamed on it. So I was helping them buy. He listed their house. He was doing everything. So he and I were talking all the time so that we were working together for our client. And, I would let him know, like, we looked at this, how's it going? And he'd be like, oh, we had these good showings and we're under contract, because then that ties into me putting them under, so I was very happy to refer that out because it's his wheelhouse. He lives there.
Exactly.
And I can't split myself in two and be in two places at once. If I have clients who are in my area that I'm looking in and I'm working, when you start working with clients and you start getting, I don't like to, again, we don't like to use the word busy, but when you're active and you're working and you have showings to do and this and that and home inspections to go to because you're under contract and closings to go to, but then you've committed to this other listing that's out of your area and now you've got to go do showings an hour, 2 hours away, instead of me referring that out to Joey Sweatt, you're not doing your client or yourself any good, any service or any good.
No. Yeah. I mean, my general rule of thumb with my agents, if you don't know the zoning laws in that town, stay out of it. If you cannot immediately recommend a home inspector, a plumber, an electrician, um, any and everybody like that in that town, stay out of it. You know, that right there automatically means that that is not your service area. Um, because especially up here where I am, we have towns with no zoning, we have towns with zoning, we have towns with planning boards, we have I mean, then there's associations within all of that and blah blah blah. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. And I mean, yes, you're not gonna know that all right now, but if you're new, you're at the point where you're building your service area. And if you want to work in a town, you need to go learn all that stuff. You need to go to planning board meetings. You need to go to zoning board meetings. You need to go to their town meetings or this selectmen meetings and all of that stuff, school board stuff. Um, people ask all about that stuff. Sometimes even the towns here will change like what school their their kids go to. So you at least need to know that. Like, do you need to know everything about the schools? No, you should know the basics, but I mean, you should at least know if somebody buys this property that they're calling you about, where are those kids going to school if they have kids? I mean, you have to know that kind of stuff. Um, so start small. I don't know where you are, but start small, like up here. if I was new in Colebrook, I would be servicing probably 5 towns. Um, but I've also put the time in and have attended zoning board meetings, planning board meetings, selectmen meetings, school board meetings, all of this stuff. So I know all of that like the back of my hand in the towns that I service. Um, and like I said, if you don't know any of that, and if you without hitting Google, if you can't tell them a plumber, an electrician, and a home inspector, um, that's not your town. You shouldn't be going there. Um, any other ahas from anybody else? Any questions that anybody has?
You're a great teacher, Joey.
Thank you. Thanks. So are you, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I'm teaching my first Ignite class. I was supposed to teach, and then I was having my surgery got moved. So I'm teaching on, I think, the 19th. So if you want to hear me talk Talkosaurus Rex again, I will be.
Perfect.
And I'm nervous to teach the first time. So you guys that are new, Joey and I were new ones too, and I'm terrified to teach my first class.
Ah,
But we all
Great.
know it. It's things that we know. So
exactly. Um, So we're going to move into touch plans. What a touch plan is, I mean, it's not you physically touching people, but I mean, it can be you physically touching people. Um, you need to be communicating with your database. And I think in my first, when I, in with my brand new agents, I have your first 90 days in real estate course training thing that I created with them. And it's been a little bit since I looked at it because Shai's been out of that for a little while. But I think the first 90 days, you're supposed to put in like 300 people into your database. Um, so even if you're brand new, you have way more people that you can put in your database than you think you do. Um, so communicating with the database, 19 touches, 36 touches. Some people do 72. My advice to you is create this with your coach, aka Tim. Um, it's a mix of all of the avenues that you can communicate with people: phone calls, text messages, emails, um, newsletters, videos, sending them postcards, direct mail, yeah, magnets, calendars, send them a pen. You would be uh, you would be shocked at how many people take pens and keep pens. I have I well, and also mailings. I have people that call me to list their property, and when I show up, they have a pen with my name on it from my very first real estate office. They have mailings that I have sent out from one lady had one literally because I by design I wasn't a dirtbag. I by design knew that I was going to open up my own office. So my plan was to work for as many as I could, to learn as much as I could, to build my office the way that I wanted my office to run. Um, so I had one lady who literally had a letter from the 4 offices that I worked at prior to me opening a notch above. I mean, they keep this stuff. So, I mean, you just because it's not working immediately, that kind of stuff isn't meant to work immediately. Mailings are not really meant for you to send out a mailing and get 45 phone calls from it. But people put that stuff in their junk drawers. People put that stuff on the side of their refrigerator. I can't tell you how many times I go to a listing appointment and they pull it out of the junk drawer, or I look up and my magnet is on their refrigerator and I've never worked with them. Um, so all of that stuff works. It just works over time. I've been consistently doing mailings my entire career. I have 20 years of mailings out there. And yeah, a lot of people just grab that stuff, look at it real quick, throw it in the trash, don't look at it, whatever. But there are people who look at that stuff and save that stuff, and when they're ready, you're going to be the one to call them. Um, the other thing that it took me a while for myself to learn is that you don't have to actually hold events to promote them and be part of them and to notify your database of them. So if like I mean for us specifically, one of the things we do is we create a brochure every year of all of the different towns and all of their Fourth of July events, with the dates and times and all of that for um and our area is very remote. So, when I say we service 15 towns, we do. Um, but we're a remote area. So we do that. We send that out to our database. We post that on Facebook. We text it out. We blah blah blah. So it's not your event, but your name's on it. Um, and same thing with like the trunk or treat. If your town does trunk or treat or trick or treating, Halloween is huge for all that stuff. Um, you know, Send out to your database when the different towns in your area are doing their trick or treating and their hours and their trunk or treats, and if there's any other Halloween events, that stuff is all very easy to find online. And again, it doesn't have to be yours. Should you be there? Yeah, you know. Do we go to trunk or treat? Do we have a trunk? Absolutely. Do we take pictures? Absolutely. Do we promote it on our socials? Absolutely. And can we should we send those out? We know we should after the event, send, pictures, videos out to our database. We're going to. We're not there yet, but absolutely. That's so many touches for something that, like, I didn't pay for the trunk or treat to happen. I didn't pay for the parade at the 4th of July, but like just that basic kind of stuff that like pretty much everybody is already involved in. Veterans Day. Veterans Day parades or anything like that. Send all that stuff out. It's nobody's, well, I don't want to say nobody. I believe we have yet to be blocked because we notified people when the Veterans Day services were in our area or any of that stuff. Um, when is Santa coming to town? All that stuff. So there's so many options for that. Because when I joined KWCLM and I saw this, I'm like, there's no way. Like, I'm not doing all that. And then it's like, there's so many options for just the community events alone for you to reach out to people, and people love that shit. They love it. They love getting notified of all that, and especially if you go and you send a follow-up with pictures and videos and blah, they love that stuff. It's very, very easy, and you're not even talking real estate. You're putting your name on it and you're putting it out there. Qualifying sellers is basically the same thing as qualifying a buyer, truthfully. Instead of when do you want to buy? When do you want to sell? Do you have a deadline that you need to meet? Um, Up here, we're of course on the international border, we have Border Patrol agents that come in and out, and they all have deadlines. So when a Border Patrol agent calls us, that's the immediate trigger. When do you start? When do you have to be into something by? And you know, if we can't get you into something that you own, we'll need to find you a short-term rental, all of that kind of stuff. The only additional, the flip side of the pre-approval with qualifying a seller is, do you have a mortgage? Do you know what your payoff is? What is your monthly payment? All of that kind of stuff. You know, the other thing with mortgages, because somebody can be on the mortgage and not be on the deed of the house, and vice versa. So if somebody does have a mortgage, it's very important to find out, is everybody, who else is on the mortgage with them and who else is on the deed with them, because you're going to need all the authorizing signatures to do that. And this is your seller qual sheet. This is literally all the stuff that you either are going to immediately need to know or eventually need to know. So again, take a picture of this screen. You can create your own in Word, Google Docs, whatever. Probably in that workbook for the Ignite. But just like you should have the buyer qual sheets with you at all times, most of the time, you should have these with you as well. I'm very much I need to physically do this with my hands. I need to physically like write this stuff down and then put it into the CRM. I'm just very old school. I'm very ADHD. That's how it works for me. Um, but again, you know, if you have this sitting in front of you, if you know this by heart and can recite this, I mean, this should be memorized. And if you have it memorized, you can very easily, when someone calls you, put them on speaker, jump into your CRM, put all this stuff right in there. So you don't have to do it in two steps like I have to, but um, whatever works for you, whatever works. Most important thing, A, is getting the information, and then B, putting it somewhere where it matters, putting it somewhere where you're not going to lose it. Don't just take it and throw it on the floorboard of your passenger seat, and you know eventually it's going to end up in the trash at the car wash. But, but I mean, do something with it after you get it. Getting the information is great, but if you're not doing anything with the information, you're missing half of the equation. So this is all the stuff that you should be asking when you get an initial seller call. I'm not going to take the time to do the role play. It's essentially the buyer role play, just flipped in reverse, like I just discussed with the questions on the mortgage and all of that. Again, touch plans. Your touch plans for your sellers should be different. Your touch plans for your buyers should be different. Your touch plans for your sellers that are ready now, your touch plans for your sellers that are active, your touch plans for your sellers that you're curating and gonna be ready in the future should be different. But the main things don't change. Everybody in our database gets our newsletter, we'll say. They get the newsletter. Everybody in the database gets the notification of community events if we're having our own event. All of that stuff. Everybody gets that stuff. Lead follow-up plan. Getting the lead is awesome. Keeping the lead is even more important. If you're just getting a lead and you're only dealing with them in the here and now and doing nothing to, keep working them, keep contacting them for the future so that when they are ready, you're missing the boat. That's so, so, so important, especially if you're paying for leads. I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars on all of this shit to get leads and all of that. Get the leads, and then I would never do any of this stuff with them. So that's why I'm telling you how important it is, because imagine what could have happened had I done that. Following up with them, converting them, staying top of mind with them, so that when they're ready, willing, and able to buy or sell, you're the name that they hear and think of, and you're the one they're going to call, and then qualifying them. Success system. It's also it took me a while to understand this because at first I was like, yeah, nobody gives a shit how many calls I made a day. It does matter. Tracking all of that matters. And here, this is your goal. This is what happens when you set your goal. When you set your goal, whatever you set for your goal determines how many contacts you need to have, how many times you need to communicate with them, how many contacts you need to add each day, each week, each month, each year. Track all of that. If your goal is to have 10 conversations every day, how many did you have today? How many contacts did you add today? How many handwritten notes did you send out? Did you do your social media engagement? Like all of that stuff. It is important to track that. One of the reasons why it is very important to track that is that if you go on 15 listing appointments and you get 3, that's a very clear indicator that you need to work on your listing presentation. So if you don't track it, you don't actually know. And then it's very hard to actually work on or know the things you need to work on and work on those things so that when you go on 15 listing appointments, you get 12, you get 13, maybe 15, instead of 3. Do not call lists, the TCPA, extremely, extremely important. Another thing that seems to have changed pretty frequently. I'm not even sure when I got in the business if that was a thing. I mean, I honestly don't know, but do not call anybody on the do not call list unless they've given you permission to call them. And if they've given you permission to call them, document that. If it's not like somehow through them creating an account on your website. So again, go into your database, create the activity, spoke with Tom Jones, asked him if it was okay for me to call and text and email him to send him properties and keep him updated, blah, blah, blah. And he said yes. If you don't document it, it didn't happen. Use command and answers.kw. Answers.kw, it's a very good resource for you to go to for the how. So if you want to go in there, how do I add a new contact in command? How do I call a contact from the command mobile app? It's very good at that. For me, it comes a little short with the why, and I'm a why kind of person. So I mean, it's not going to give you the why you need to do that. It's going to give you the how, and I mean, literally anything that you need to know how to do in command is right on this. Not only should the command connect, should command be bookmarked on your laptop, but so should the answers.kw. Very, very, very good, very important. There's also, KW also has a YouTube channel, because answers.kw is going to give you the written version. If you go on the KW YouTube channel, you're going to get the visual version. And if you're like me, you need the visual. Like the reading part of it is generally often lost on me, but the visual part, if I can actually see it happening, that's how I learn. I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in a relationship with me. That basically speaks for itself. you should come from a place of contribution. You should come from a place of wanting to help people. That makes it very much easier on the receiving end, um, when you come at people wanting to help them instead of them thinking that you just want something from them. Um, nobody wants to work with somebody who just wants something from them. Celebrate your successes. Sometimes they're very, very small. Sometimes they're very, very, very small. But celebrate any and all of it. If you created your buyer intake form, that is amazing. You know, celebrate that. You did that. Now use it. You know, and then when you use it, celebrate all of that. Um, and just, I mean, do the things, do all the things. If you engage with all, I mean, I promise you there is no company that has more training than KWCLM. And they absolutely come from a place of contribution. And there's not a person in the brokerage that doesn't want everybody else in the brokerage to succeed. Um, the stuff that people have shared with me, I never in a million years, some of that stuff would think that people would just give that away. They do. Um, anything I have, I'm happy to share with anybody at all. If you guys need help with something, feel free to reach out. I'm not your broker, I'm not your team leader. I will do my best to help you do whatever it is. And don't be bashful about that. You know, um, just don't. And that is everything for today.
Thank you,
Is
Joey.
anybody
Really
still
appreciate it.
here?
Yeah.
Do you guys
I'll
have
definitely.
any questions at all on anything?
So I guess maybe back to what you were talking about a little bit ago about area of service.
Yep.
What do you think is the best way of kind of determining what you want your area of service to be? Should it just be maybe the area you're the most familiar with, or?
It should, I mean, in my opinion, it should start with that. It should definitely start with the area that you're most familiar with. Um, you know, once you start with that and really like get that going, then it's much easier to branch out. And a lot of that's just going to happen naturally anyway, you know, because if you service, let's say you decide that if you service Dover, well, I mean, Somersworth's also right there. Rochester's not that far away. Portsmouth, Newington, um, all of those other towns around it. It's just it's gonna spread for you. Um, you know, and maybe after a little bit and you're comfortable and you've got your thing going in that area, maybe you decide, well, I really want to target some of like the really high-end neighborhoods in some of the towns a little bit further out. Go for it, you know, but the the only I mean what I tell my agents is don't just go somewhere because somebody wants you to. You know, if you're gonna go there, you're gonna learn it. If you decide that you're gonna expand into another town or another two towns, go to their town halls, find out how you get their zoning information, find out all of the things. Um, because you don't want to be doing that on the fly because you're going to look like an idiot to your client first of all. But I mean, you need to know that stuff. Do you need to like you don't need to know it like super duper crazy intimately. You need to have a general hold on the information. And you need to know if you don't know the answer to that information, who to go to, where to get it. Um, you know, it's that's my biggest thing. And next, you need to have vendors and service providers to recommend there. There's nothing. I mean, I have buyers say it all the time to us who, like, an agent will come up here from Southern New Hampshire because they're friends with the buyer, and then they ask us who we recommend for a plumber or electrician. That nothing makes an agent look more stupid than that. And I mean, in my opinion, and I know for a fact that buyers and sellers think the same thing, you know? Um, And just FYI, my answer always to that question is ask Google. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not here to, my vendors are my vendors. Um, my vendors belong to me, my agents, and my clients. I we're not, if you don't have anybody to recommend, that's your first sign that you should not be working in that area.
Okay, so to kind of try to capture this, because I kind of want to make myself a checklist because I'm a very new agent. So any town is a new area of service for me. I
Yep.
have zoning. I have vendors and service providers for that area. What are some
Yep.
other bullet points you think?
Other bullet points, you're gonna want to know. I mean, I personally go to all the town halls and talk to all the town clerks and find, like, if I need this, if I need maps, how do I get them? Where do I go for that? If I need somebody's tax bill, how do I get it? Where do I go for that? Tax cards, um, all of that kind of stuff. Um, the if a town has zoning, generally there are multiple zones. You're going to want to know the boundaries of those zones and the differences between them. Same thing with schools. I don't like, up here, we have multiple towns go to the same school. Manchester has like 30 schools in the city. You're going to want to know that, like, if somebody buys a house on this street, what does that mean for elementary school? What does it mean for junior high? What does it mean for high school? Um, all that kind of stuff. Do you need to know everything about the school? No, but you should probably know, like, the important stuff that people generally ask about schools is sports. What sports do they have? Um, like I most of the schools up here, I know all the clubs and stuff like that, but I mean that's just that's a little more intimate knowledge than I think a real estate agent should have. But if you live in an area where a lot of the people there have kids in schools, you should learn as much as you can about the schools so you can just have that general knowledge. Emergency services, hospitals, daycares, uh, grocery stores. Um,
Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah,
I'm gonna drop for the contracts class, but I just
yeah,
wanted to say that it's been a pleasure and I really learned a lot from you.
awesome. Thank you so much. Feel free to reach out anytime and have fun in contracts.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, so that was my answer. Um, was there
No, I think
anything else?
that covers it, Joey. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. Happy to help.
I'll definitely take you up on the offer for some assistance. I'll definitely reach out to you at some point.
Yeah, and where do you live? Where are you out of?
Newmarket, out of the Portsmouth office. The
Oh,
Somersworth, Dover, Portsmouth, Newmarket, Newington area, that's my area I'm going to try to target.
perfect. Yeah, so I was listing off almost all the right ones. I left Newmarket out, but yeah, I only know that area so well. My parents lived in Milton for 20 years and just retired and came back home. So I've been down in that area quite a bit in the last 20 years. But yeah, I would stick to those towns and just, I mean, learn as much as you can about I mean, going to the town meetings is super duper helpful. Going to the town meetings, the selectmen meetings, school board meetings. I mean, you don't have to participate. In a lot of towns, you can't if you're not a taxpayer or a voter there. But that's how you're gonna learn so much of that stuff. That's how I learned all of that stuff. I went to all of that and still go to quite a bit of it.
Okay, I'm going to
Down
be
there,
doing
you're
my
probably lucky though. A lot of your meetings are probably on Zoom or streamed live, so you don't physically have to go, but which is even better because then you can pull up the older meetings and listen to those as well.
Yeah, actually, I didn't think about that. I'll definitely have to check that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of your stuff is live streamed down there. Yep. Well, alrighty. It is 11 o'clock. I am gonna run. Thank you guys very much. And like I said, if any of you have any questions or want any help or any advice or anything, please feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Joey. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.